All right, our next example is what I call solving a complex substitution problem. That's not really what it's called, but I can't think of a better name for it, and it makes sense when you say complex because this one has more steps involved. This time we don't have like an x or a y that's already alone, so it kind of makes the problem a little bit more difficult. So what we need to do is we actually need to get an x or a y alone so that we can use it to substitute in different pieces. It's really up to you whether you want to use and monkey with the second equation or with the first one. I notice that I have this y right here practically alone already, so that's why I'm going to use the first equation. So I'm going to take negative 2x plus y equals negative 1, and I'm just going to go ahead and add 2x to both sides. So when I do that, I get the y all by itself, and I know that it equals negative 1 plus 2x, or I could really just say y equals 2x minus 1. Either one, remember, is the same. Now that I have a y all by itself, I'm going to use this information from what I have from y, and I'm going to substitute it in for the y in the bottom equation. Okay, so I kind of drew you a little bit of an arrow for what I was going to do. So if I do that, I end up with 4x plus 2. Now our y value is being multiplied, and it's the whole thing that's being multiplied. So I have to put our 2x minus 1 in parentheses so that I can know that every piece of it needs to be multiplied by 2, and then it all needs to equal 12. And then I can go ahead and just solve it like I know how to solve any other equation, and remember we have to do that distributive property first. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute 4x plus 4x minus 2 equals 12. Combine my like terms. 4x plus 4x is 8x minus 2 equals 12. Now remember, I just want to take a minute to just mention, you could have done all of this same work or similar work, but replacing the x if you wanted to get the x all alone in that top equation. Or we could have used the bottom equation to help us out. Anyway, continuing on with this problem, we're going to add 2 to both sides. So I end up with 8x equals 14. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide by 8 on each side. And when I do that, I end up with x being 14/8. So I can leave it like that, or I can change it to 1 6/8, which is the same thing as 1 3/4. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Remember that we could have it say 7/4 if we wanted to. That would be the same thing as well. In fact, I'm going to use that idea of 7/4, that 1 3/4 is the same thing as 7/4. I'm going to close that random email out. Sorry guys about that. Anyway, I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it to figure out my y value. And since I see 7/4 here, and I see that there's a 4x right there, well, I know 7/4 times 4x is going to cancel out kind of nicely. So I'm going to replace it in the bottom equation first, and then we'll go back and double check it in the top equation. So 4 times 7/4 plus 2y equals 12. 4 times 7/4, that's just 7, plus 2y needs to equal 12. I'm going to go ahead and take away 7 on each side. So then I end up with 2y equals 5, and I can go ahead and divide by 2 on each side. So I know my y value is 2.5, or we could have left it as 5/2. Whatever you guys want to do is going to be fine with me on that. Just make sure that you read the directions when you're doing your homework on the book assignment, because they are specific about how they want those sometimes. Anyway, we would go ahead then, and we probably want to double check it with the top equation as well. Negative 2 times 7/4 plus y equals negative 1. Negative 2 times 7/4 is really negative, what would that be? Negative 14/4 plus y equals negative 1. And then I would go ahead and add 14/4 to both sides. Oops, not 14/14, but 14/4. Okay, so y equals, gosh, -1, 14/4. 14/4 has to be the same as 3 1/2. So we're going to do 3 1/2, or I'm sorry, we're going to do -1 plus 3 1/2, which gives us 2 1/2. So therefore we know we have the right y value because we got it both times, unless we made a glitch, but I don't think we did. And so we would go ahead and write our final answer however we want to, in mixed fraction or improper fraction form. But I know my system of equations solution is 7/4 and 2 1/2.